You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Mother's Day is around the corner. Find the perfect gift for the mom in your life with a stunning piece of jewelry from Blue Nile. From timeless pearls to dazzling gemstones, Blue Nile has something she'll adore. Need it fast? Most items can ship overnight. Plus, enjoy guaranteed free shipping and returns. Don't miss our special Mother's Day deals. Save big on the season's most beautiful trends. For a limited time, get up to 50% off by going to BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
The power sweep actually is the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him, if he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Flying solo this evening. Got a bunch of date mocks out there tonight, I believe. Now, Emilio just texted me. He's helping his future sister-in-law move. He and his wife, or fiance, I should say, are helping with that. Jacob's at work tonight. And Tim taking a little time off as well. So we could have skipped the show, but I decided, you know what? Let's go live anyway. Let's talk a little ball here this season. I had a little bit of time as we're kind of wrapping up the week here at the Bailey Ranch. But hope everybody's doing well. Give a shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Dick in the house. We got A-Fam. We got Eric Sutherland. Andres, good to see you, buddy. Let's see, Greg in the house. We got Eric Sutherland. All right, man. I'll see you, bub. A-Fam. Jacob Bus listening at work. Don't you get fired, Jacob. What are you doing, bub? Come on now. Let's see. We got United Bates in the house. Mr. Dane Stromstad. Appreciate you swinging through, buddy. There you go. Said, happy to have a podcast to listen to this evening. Hey, happy you're here, man. M. Smitty. Who else we got in here? I think we got everybody. Coach Lynn. What's up, Coach? Good to see you, bud. Yeah, man. You're welcome. So we'll cover a lot of different things, man. We'll just kind of go scattershot. We had that graphic we were going to hit on last night that I forgot to get to on the GM rankings. I thought was kind of cool. Also, let's just lead it off with this right here. Check out this quick video of J.J. McCarthy throwing a pass, man. That's not looking good, is it? Look at my man right here. Listen, does it mean anything? No. But anytime you get a chance to poke fun at the Minnesota Vikings, we're going to do it on this here podcast. That's a pretty bad look there, JJ. You got to step into that throw, bub. Obviously, I tweeted it out earlier, too, poking a little fun at the Vikings, hashtag skull, and put Bob Uecker saying just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed, so always fun to make fun of Viking fans for sure. But as we get into everything this evening, let's do this. Let's give a quick shout-out. Let's get right to the GM rankings. I thought this was cool. I'm going to go ahead and kill my cam, too. I'm going to try to lean on the chat a little bit tonight since we're flying solo. And we'll kind of get your all's takes on this. Yeah, I like it. Coach Lynn says scattershot like Gooch draft strategies. Hey, it seems to be working, man. It seems to be working. There's no doubt about that. But here are the GM rankings according to Pro Football Network. And we'll just kind of roll through them real quick. All right. And it says, according to @DallasD.Robinson, who works for Pro Football Network. So number one, they've got Howie Roseman, the Philadelphia Eagles, as general manager. I know he is very, very respected across the league. That's one of the guys that Bill Belichick has name dropped probably more than anyone. Just one of those, like I said, I think he was with the Eagles. They bring in Chip Kelly. They run Howie Roseman off, and then they bring Howie Roseman back after Chip Kelly, if I remember correctly. I had a couple of Philly fans, good buddy Jeremy, who lives up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I believe it is, was talking about it, and they were just ecstatic that Howie Roseman came back. Obviously, he got him back to the Super Bowl, and I think he's built a pretty strong roster. And when you look at the way they built their roster in Philadelphia, they build within the trenches. There's no two ways about that, And now, do I think they're going to have a whole lot of success moving forward? I think it's going to be tough with A.J. Brown's contract, and that's the beautiful thing about how Brian Gutekunst has done business in Green Bay is obviously saving money there in the wide receiver room, right? Any chance you get to do that, that's kind of the name of the game. And where can you cut costs without cutting, talent, right? And I think Goody is really onto something with the wide receiver room. You guys may or may not have heard. I know I was chatting with Justin, who does Packernet Graphics, and Jacob earlier in the text thread, and everybody's excited to see Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks kind of working out together. I think they got them an Airbnb or whatever you want to call it, one of those brands that's similar to an Airbnb, basically rented out a house in Florida, and they're working out together. And, what I sit back to those guys in that text message, and we're kind of off topic here. We'll get back to the GM list here, but as it triggers thoughts when we're flying solo, we'll just kind of, like I said, scattershot this evening. As I was seeing Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, kind of working out together, it got me thinking like those dudes they're really bonding, right? They're really taking this serious. Obviously, Christian Watson, I believe he just got married. And he and Romeo Doubs kind of came in the league together, and they've been in each other's hip pocket, right? They kind of seem like they're partners in crime. And Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, not that they're trying to, I don't want this to sound bad. I don't think they're trying to make Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs look bad by no stretch of the imagination. I just really, really like the fact that they're kind of bonding together and going, hey, look, let's take this to the next level. And I bring that up because when we talk about the wide receiver room and how Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles just paid A.J. Brown a ton of guaranteed money, and it's going to hurt them in the cap space, in the cap area, I should say. When you look at Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, if they are the real deal, and if they continue to play like we've seen them play last year, and they continue to get better and take the developmental program serious, you may not even look to extend Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson in a couple years. And I know that sounds very cold-blooded, right? But if they prove to be better than Dobby and Christian Watson, and listen, they've got their work cut out for them. I think Christian Watson is one of the most talented wide receivers in the league. I think Romeo Doubs is as clutch as they get from the Packers here recently, maybe with the exception of Devontae Adams. It seems like when Jordan Love needs to make a play and make a play late in the game, he kind of looks for Dobby, and Doubs is that guy that's going to go up and make those contested catches. I think we uncovered last year? Romeo Doubs was the zone beater, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. Maybe he was the man beater. I think it was between him and him and Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed was the zone beater, and Romeo Doubs was the man coverage beater, if I remember correctly. So if you got those two young studs coming up behind those guys, and they continue to develop, in Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, you may not even have to extend Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. And I know some people were probably going, whoa, no, let's make sure we keep these guys together as long as possible. I would love to see that happen too, but the only issue with that is, let's say you do decide to extend Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. You're probably not going to look to extend Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed if you go that route. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to kind of choose. You get one, maybe two receivers that you could pay really good money to under the cap, and you got to allocate that money somewhere else, right? So just something to kind of think about there, as we move forward. And listen, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs may come out this year and both go for 1,000 yards, right? 1,000 yards, 8 to 12 touchdowns each. It's a good problem to have. But it was just really cool to see Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed working out together. So number 2 on the GM list is Brett Veach in Kansas City. I know some people would just kind of foo-foo that and go, if you didn't have Patrick Mahomes, you wouldn't, he wouldn't be up there. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Brett Veach was the GM. He may have been when they drafted Patrick Mahomes, but the thing you got to give Veach credit for is extending Mahomes with that huge contract, right? That 10-year deal or whatever it was to free up cap space. But also he's been willing to go out and kind of patch things together. What I think is interesting about the Kansas City Chiefs, and it doesn't get talked about enough, Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great year last year, right? Obviously, they didn't have a true number one receiver unless you include Rashee Rice in that scenario there. Travis Kelce, obviously he's a tight end. He's a big wide receiver more than he's a tight end, to be honest with you. But the thing that Brett Veach did last year was he kind of kept that team together on the defensive side of the ball. If that defense was the number 15 defense in the league, I don't feel near as comfortable saying that the Kansas City Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl based off what the offense did last year, So you got to kind of tip your cap to Brett Veach and realizing, hey, look, we can't, we lost Tyreek Hill. You got a young receiver in Rashee Rice. Obviously, Rashee Rice now, we don't know what's going to happen there with the legal issues. Seems like he's lost his damn mind here lately. You've now got Travis Kelce getting much longer in the tooth, right? Probably won't be around for much longer. So he's kind of looking at it like, hey, let's build this defense up as much as possible. And that really, I give more credit to the defense last year for winning the Super Bowl than I do the quarterback or the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, there you go. That's Brett Veach at number 2. Number 3, Eric DeCosta, the Baltimore Ravens general manager. Obviously, very similar, kind of building within the trenches, in my opinion. Now, obviously, they got Lamar Jackson, who's a 2-time MVP, someone who's a dual threat, but here lately it seems like he's choosing to be more of a pocket passer. Played really well there. You got to give them credit for giving him the contract when some people, seem to think that Lamar Jackson might be leaving Baltimore there for a short bit, right? So I don't disagree with these top 3, really. I mean, I can see how they can fall in that spot. But at number 4, you got Brian Gutekunst. And this is really cool because you guys know we've talked about this many times in the past. Seems like the national media don't want to give Brian Gutekunst any credit. They don't want to give the Packers any credit, right? And before it was, you just wait till Rodgers is gone. You're going to be like everybody else in the league, and your team's going to suck. And lo and behold, they seem to have landed another really good quarterback. I feel comfortable saying great quarterback. And when I say great, to me, to be great in the NFL, you got to be top 10, right? When you get in the top 5, I think that's when you're getting that elite status, right? Top 5, top 3. I think Jordan Love is definitely a great quarterback in the league. So Brian Gutekunst obviously pulled the right strings there. I didn't agree with the way he did it because we wasted a ton of money signing Aaron and then just turning around and trading him, and trading him for significantly less than what we could have got the year before. Obviously, when San Fran came knocking, they were willing to give multiple firsts. If I remember correctly, that was the rumors that were on the street there. And then you end up settling for whatever it was, two seconds or whatever we ended up getting there, trading him to the Jets. But at the end of the day, Brian Gutekunst got the next quarterback, right? That's what it seems like has happened here. And some people are going, why do you keep saying seems like? Why aren't you completely sold? If you made me choose right now, I'm saying Jordan Love is the real deal. Okay, I don't want this to get misconstrued. But at the same time, we can't forget that the first half of the season, right? Let me put it this way. If the way Jordan played in the first half of the season last year, if the roles had been kind of reversed or the timeline had been reversed, and let's say he started off hot and then finished the last 9 games the way he started the season, we're probably having a different conversation right now, right? So that's the only thing that's holding me back from going, no, this dude's an absolute stud. I believe he's a stud. That's just the only little bit of doubt I have is that how he struggled in the first half of the season. When we go back and watch the highlights from every game, we're going to do that here in the next couple of weeks probably, maybe as we get into June, as a little training camp primer, just go back and get a refresher from last year. That's, you're going to notice that in the first half of the season. You're going to notice the defense was really holding up well, and it was the offense that was struggling, right? And there was a lot of interceptions being thrown, a lot of inaccuracy. That second half of the season, though, my gosh, was Jordan Love good. So Brian Gutekunst at number 4, just the way he's maneuvering the salary cap, the way when other teams, bad teams across the league are drastically overpaying for wide receiver, and he's got one of, if not the cheapest wide receiver room in the entire league, just shows you a large majority of the other general managers are playing chess or playing checkers, and Brian's playing chess, right? Really, really like the fact that he came at number 4 spot. So we gotta kind of back off that a little bit, like Brian Gutekunst and the Packers aren't getting any respect. You know what I mean? Because the fact that, like I said, here with Pro Football Network, they got Brian Gutekunst as a number 4 GM in the league. I think that's very, very fair. I think that's a lot of respect being put on his name. So really excited, though, to see kind of how they come into their own this year. Let's see. Andres in the chat said, I believe the Packers have the best wide receiver room. Many people would scoff at that comment, Andres, but I know where you're coming from, man. Like what they showed in the second half of the season. Jaden Reed, I think Jaden Reed's the real deal, man. He's just one of those guys that he's not going to drop passes because the moment's too big for him. He's going to make mistakes. Every player makes mistakes, but he's not going to make a mistake because he's scared. He just seems to play fluid. He seems to play loose. He can play Z. He can play flyer. He can play in the slot. I prefer him being those three spots as opposed to just, like a boundary X. I feel like he thrives in the Z more than anything. And in some cases, when you use Z motion in Matt LaFleur's offense, that's what they refer to as flyer. So sometimes they end up starting at the technical Z, but with cheat motion, they end up in what would technically be the slot. That's the way it's been described to me from other coaches. So, but yeah, I don't think that's a crazy comment there, Andres, that the Packers have the best wide receiver room in the league. I really don't, man. I think they're definitely top 10. And again, if you think they're the best wide receiver room in the league, I'm not going to sit there and roll my eyes, man. I mean, the way they played in the second half of the season was strong, man. There's no doubt about it. I like what Mr. Maki Riggs says. Dobbs is cool hand Luke. He really is, man. Never gets too high, never gets too low, man. No doubt about it. Let's see here. What else we got here in the chat? Coach Lynn says Jim Nagy at the Senior Bowl thought Lloyd, talking about Marshawn Lloyd, was the best running back in the draft, and now the Packers can have the best 12 punch or 1-2 punch, in the running back room. I really, really like the thought of Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd running the football together, man. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I really do. I think that they've got a lot of really, really good football ahead of them. If we get the Josh Jacobs of 2022, and I know I've said this 1,000 times, but if that guy shows up in training camp and Marshawn Lloyd proves to be what Jim Nagy is saying, and oh, by the way, Jim Nagy isn't the only one saying that, right? You guys remember Daniel Jeremiah said the same thing, and you guys know I've propped up and put over Daniel Jeremiah all year long because he's a former scout. He's been in those rooms. He knows the process. He understands how to evaluate talent. That's why I take his opinion way more serious than I do like a Mel Kiper or some of these other quote unquote draft experts, including the ones on Packers Twitter that seem to think they've got everything figured out and the GM is stupid if they don't draft the guy that they take or that they think they should take. That stuff makes me cringe, man. You talking about getting secondhand embarrassment. I get it every single time. So, but since Coach Lynn brung up Marshawn Lloyd, we got a quick video from Packers.com we're going to hit. This is on Marshawn Lloyd that the Packers actually posted on their Twitter account. You can go check it out there for free. Obviously, go give it a retweet, give them a follow, all that stuff. Give it a like. Also, check out their YouTube channel. It's probably on there as well. But here's a quick little one-on-one look with the Packers' new running back, third-round pick, Marshawn Lloyd.
I'm Marshawn Lloyd, and here's a little bit about me. In the NFL right now, get a lot of comparisons to, Josh Jacobs is here right now, and then DeAndre Swift, just a mixture of those two. Just elusiveness, being able to, get in and out of the cuts, break, and then get vertical, go 0 to 100 real fast.
Sling race, Lloyd wins, touchdown.
My favorite hobby off the field is Call of Duty. Best Call of Duty player you'll probably meet. I play with a lot of my teammates, so I feel like that's something big that I've been able to, contribute to my life. Hidden talent, I can flip. I can do all types of flips. Hey, Christian Watson, you're not the only back flipper in the building.
Wow!
Running out of the tumble on the Lambeau field will mean everything to me. Small town kid, dreams come true. The Lambeau and Lambeau Leap and everything that has to do with the Green Bay Packers, it'll be a dream come true for sure. I've seen what we were capable of last year, and I know this year is even bigger, so I'm just super excited to chase that Super Bowl.
Love it, man. I think Marshawn Lloyd has a chance to be something really, really special. Again, every time that when we turn on the tape of Marshawn Lloyd, when you're talking about averaging over 7 yards a carry, even if it's in college football, I mean, my gosh, man, that's something that doesn't happen very often. I can't imagine. I mean, that was just absolutely wild that he averaged that much. But yeah, Coach Lynn in the chat said he's one big muscle, or as we would like to say here on Packers Total Access.
Thick.
Exactly right there, Coach Half. So, yeah, he's definitely a a much larger back, but he's low center of gravity, great contact balance, great burst, shows patience behind the line of scrimmage, can juke defenders out of their freaking shoes, also fights for the extra yards. We've seen him catch passes in the flat on a swing pass. We've seen him catch a screen pass. We've seen him attack the seam on a play action go, which was really exciting to see. There's a lot of things that I'm really, really excited about when it comes to Marshawn Lloyd, no doubt. 2-0 for this in the chat says, it's not just our wide receivers, but Kraft proved himself. Completely agree. Musgrave showed potential. Completely agree. And Sims was good depth tied in. Our pass catching room is crazy. It's a great point, man. Tucker Kraft really impressed the heck out of me. I've been pretty vocal about this, and I understand I'm probably in the minority with this comment, but I'm going to say it again and again and again until Luke Musgrave proves otherwise. I'm not saying Musgrave is a bad player. I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, the Packers had a higher draft grade on him than they did Tucker Kraft. But if you just took the two bodies of work that we've seen last year, and what I mean by bodies of work, not necessarily statistics. I couldn't tell you the statistics between Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. But just what we watched on tape.
We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us. In the hobby, it's not easy being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We get all hyped up thinking we're going to get some high-value Jordan Love card, but with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. Until now, introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view on all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, it finally feels like I know what I'm getting. And honestly, the best thing for me and my son is the fact that we're kind of novices into this. When I walk into a card shop with my son, and a card says it costs $40, kind of just taking his word for it that that's a good value. So I appreciate the transparency on grading, as well as just getting excited about seeing what you could potentially get. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. Wow, that's crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
The sure-handedness that Tucker Kraft has, which surprised the heck out of me. We knew he was a physical specimen. We knew he was huge. We knew his RAS was through the roof. We knew he can move, right? I didn't expect him to catch football that well. And that's something that really impressed me. And not only that, but the confidence and balance that he has, the body control that he has in catching the football and immediately turning upfield is so impressive to me, man. It really caught me off guard. I did not expect that. I would put Tucker Kraft ahead of Luke Musgrave. Every other depth chart on the face of the earth, no matter what website you look at, has Musgrave ahead of him. I'm not saying I'm right and all of them are wrong, right? And we know that if Goody had a pick, he would want Musgrave to start over Tucker Kraft if they're neck and neck. I would too. You know, you've got more draft capital. You got more invested in Luke Musgrave. Granted, not a whole lot more, seeing that Musgrave was a second-round pick, Kraft was a third. But if you're telling me, yeah, they're kind of even neck and neck, yeah, put Musgrave out there. I just personally feel like Kraft had a little bit better year last year. It's a good problem to have. And it's not like he's light years ahead of Musgrave, you know? So, yeah, I agree 2-0 for this. I think our tight end room is pretty solid too. AFM in the chat says, Kraft would have top 3 tight end yak if we didn't have 2 tight ends. Good problem to have. Absolutely, man. You're going to keep that wear and tear down on those tight ends. And it's something that's really, really important too, man, when it comes to tight end, because it's very similar to running back. Those guys get beat up, man. They're out there blocking. They're getting chopped against too. Sometimes the safety will come flying in the box. They got to blow up a running play. They dive at the knees. We've seen here in the past that since the rules have changed, I think the safety and rules committee just assumed, okay, guys will stop headhunting. They'll just start trying to wrap up. What happened was defensive backs started diving at the legs. He started diving at the knees. You've seen it with Sam Laporta last year, if I remember correctly. That was nasty. Now, him being the tough SOB he is, he didn't miss hardly any time, right? So, yeah, it's one of those things that if you've got 2-3 tight ends that can all contribute consistently, then you keep the wear and tear down on those tight ends just like you would do with the running backs. So definitely a good problem to have there. Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Let's go see what we got next. I had a couple more screen grabs here, topics I wanted to hit on. Oh, this is interesting. We're trying to wrap up the draft talk. All right. But there's not a whole lot going on until we get back into the next mini camp, and then, of course, mandatory mini camp, and then, of course, training camp. But we're trying to just kind of, what did we learn during draft season? And let's kind of button everything up on the draft side and then step into this new season. And we'll go back and watch the tape from last year, watch the highlight reels and go, okay, what happened in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through week 18. And just kind of get a refresher on, okay, here's how the season went. Here's why they started rough. Here's why they finished strong. Here's what got them beat against San Francisco as a primer for training camp. So I'd like to get all this draft information in right now while we still got, just a little less in the news cycle, if you will. But Adam Schefter tweeted this out and said, Commanders' second-round pick Johnny Newton will undergo surgery to repair an injury to his left foot. About 4 months after the defensive tackle had a procedure done for a similar injury on his right foot. So you guys know Johnny Newton was a player that got mocked to us several times, right? He kept falling to us in the draft, and it was just like, yeah, man, I'll be totally fine with Johnny Newton. I'm not suggesting that teams thought this going into the draft. It sounds like this is something that just happened recently, and maybe it didn't, but I don't want to sound cold-hearted here, but thank God we didn't draft him, right? And it's the perfect example of when you get into draft season, I'm sitting there going, man, Johnny Newton's great value at 25. If he's somehow there, somehow, some way, then let's take him. Now you'd be sitting here looking at, okay, how long is he going to be out? Is he going to be ready for camp? And it is a position that some would consider us being deep at. Now, I have disagreed that the defensive line is as good as some people say in the past, but that's with a 34 front. Now that we're not two-gapping, probably going to be a whole different beast here with Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark. Carl Brooks is going to be a stud. Put it on the ticker right now. Carl Brooks is going to be a great NFL player. You've seen it all over the tape. You heard the coaches constantly bragging on him. Like, he's a guy that's going to be a force to be reckoned with in a one-gap scheme that we're now running with this 4-3. So I'm really excited to see how he does. But, again, I just wanted to kind of hit on that. Like, it's important to – you're not going to hear me take victory laps on this podcast. I think it's tacky. I don't think listeners want to hear someone say, I told you so. I told you so. Didn't I tell you this? That stuff makes me want to throw my phone through the computer screen when I hear other people say it. So I try not to be that guy. I'm sitting here telling you I would have been in favor of drafting Johnny Newton with the 25th pick. And, man, that would have sucked if this injury would have popped up. The same with the Packers as it has here with the Commanders, obviously. So good on Goody there for kind of missing out on that, right? Let's go to this. This is a really cool tweet here Paul Brettel put out. Packers pass game coordinator Derek Ansley on Jaire Alexander. Now, he quote tweeted a previous tweet he put out. I love Paul Brettel, man. He does things so organized. His original tweet or previous tweet said, Jaire Alexander finished off 2023 strong and has carried that momentum into the offseason. Alexander's play will play an important part in Hafley's efforts to turn the defense around. Quote, Jaire's been outstanding. He looks great. Talking about Jeff Hafley. Now, he quote tweeted that tweet and put Packers pass game coordinator Derek Ansley. You guys know he's the defensive coordinator for the LA Chargers last year. He's also the guy that was, if I remember correctly, was in charge of recruiting Xavier McKinney to the University of Alabama, which is really cool. But this is the quote from the presser they had with Jaire Ansley the other day. He said, quote, "I can't really speak on what happened last year and in the past," said passing game coordinator Jaire Ansley. "But when I've gotten here and Half's gotten here, we've seen nothing but his best," talking about Jaire Alexander. "He's been in here 2 or 3 weeks before we started phase 1. So he didn't even have to be there until phase 1. And he was already there 3 weeks before, working with the strength coaches, getting ahead. Phenomenal attitude. Quote, he's been here every day for phase 2. He's leading that group the right way. He's breaking down the groups. A lot of energy every morning, which you guys know he brings that energy, man. There's no two ways about it. You don't believe me? Ask this local news lady there in Green Bay.
Just here to tell you, Pack is back.
I still can't believe that actually happened live on TV. I love it. He's been the same guy, so he's been a joy to work with that way. We're proud of that. We don't take that for granted, and we expect a lot out of him because he's got a lot to give. So it sounds like our boy Jaire Alexander has been rejuvenated, and it's just absolutely awesome. You go from the 1-game suspension last year. I know everybody shouldn't say it. I know many people try to blame the Jaire Alexander situation on Joe Barry. Joe Barry didn't have a damn thing to do with Jaire Alexander walking out there and nominating himself as captain. That was Ja being Ja. But what does it say about Jaire Alexander's character that he got corrected, he got suspended for a game, and he was mature enough and took responsibility that, okay, hey, that's on me, and now you're going to get the best version of me from here on out. That's a man's man. That's something that needs to be applauded and it needs to be mentioned, right? So I'm really excited to see what Jaire Alexander does this coming year, man. I think he's going to be rejuvenated in this new defense here. So, with that being said, since we're talking on the defensive side of the ball, we had a quick video here from Xavier McKinney from Packers.com. Xavier McKinney, everything I've heard, he's going to be the leader of this defense. Him and Ja, they said that he and Ja sit next to each other in every meeting, every classroom session with the DBs. So they are just attached at the hip. Xavier McKinney being one of the best safeties in the league, right? According to PFF, if you just look at the grades on the current Packers roster, excluding the rookies, Xavier McKinney is the highest graded defensive player. He's first in the upper 80s, and then you got Rashawn Gary right there around 80 is in the second spot. Then I think it might have been Jaire after that, if I remember correctly. But Xavier McKinney is the perfect example of what we talk about in free agency. You guys know, had many people message me and go, you guys nailed that. You nailed it, because we were talking Xavier McKinney from the jump, and there were so many people that came at us saying in the DMs and on YouTube comments, just being absolutely rude, that I would just remove the comments, because I would rather have less algorithm, less viewers, and be having a conversation with fans that are respectful and actually want to learn together than put up with just the trolling nonsense. But it was, the Packers aren't going to spend that much money on a safety. They're not going to go get him, blah, 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 blah. Lo and behold, day one of free agency, they go out and get Xavier McKinney. And it's the perfect example of being willing to overpay for great. You never overpay for good. You overpay for great. I don't think they overpaid for him, but the same principle applies that, hey, look, they went out and outbid everyone else for a great player. Here's one of your new I think you'll be a defensive captain, however they elect or choose to pick captains this year for the Green Bay Packers. Xavier McKinney is going to be a leader on this team. There's no doubt about it. But let's hear from him real quick. And again, you can find this at Packers.com. You can find it on their Twitter account for free. Make sure you go retweet it, repost it, whatever it's called. Give it a like on YouTube, all that good stuff. Here's your new free agent toy, X.
I'm fifth-year safety, Xavier McKinney, and I got a few words for the rookies. Some of my early impressions of the team and just of the defensive group, I've been impressed with everybody, and definitely the talent level is out the roof. adding 3 more guys in the safety room is a special thing for me, because I'll be able to just bring them in and welcome them with open arms and help them be able to learn the game. And seeing those guys and seeing what their tape is like, have really good talent. Obviously seeing what we already have, it's just going to be adding more and building more. So I would say I'm pretty happy, and I know half is happy too. To the class this year, I would say let's work, put it all out there, be all in on what we're trying to get accomplished as a team. Let's all push in the same direction, and it's going to be a hell of a year. It's going to be a special year. I can feel it. Obviously, everybody's here at OTA, so that's a really good sign. And don't worry about too much of the outside noise, man. We got to worry about what we have in this building and hold each other accountable, and always compete, and the rest will take care of itself.
And again, it's a perfect example of Goody going out and getting another team captain, right? This was a guy that was a captain on the New York Giants. Goody knows what he's looking for. He's looking for leadership qualities. He's looking to protect that culture. We played the video yesterday where Brian Gutekunst sat down with Larry McCarron, and obviously talked about, we expect our players in this locker room to maintain a certain culture. It's only fair that we bring guys in that are going to agree with that, and they're going to help maintain that culture, right? We're not going to waver. We're not going to reach. We're not going to go after someone who has more talent but is an absolute a-hole after we've asked every person in that locker room for the last however many years, hey, here's the standard. Here's the culture we keep. Oh, by the way, I really like this player. He's talented, so we're going to give him a pass, and you guys take care of him. I love that he's like, no, I'm not willing to do that. I'm holding myself accountable to my players, to my locker room, to make sure that we're bringing players in that have that same type of cultural attitude. Xavier McKinney's got it. You hear him talk right there. He's going to be a leader on this defense. Him and Ja working in tandem together is going to be absolutely phenomenal. You throw in Kenny Clark's leadership on the front. I really hope Kenny Clark turns it on this year, on the football field. He's still a leader in that locker room, right? Just think about the leadership in the defensive line room. You got Kenny Clark, who's just an absolute rock, right? Let's hope he overperforms this year. In the linebacker room, you've got Quay Walker. Now you've got Edgerrin Cooper. You got Isaiah McDuffie. Obviously, a little less experience there in the linebacker room, in my opinion. But on the backside, Jaire Alexander, Xavier McKinney now. And you got these young studs coming in, right? With Kalen King and Javon Bullard and Oladapo and obviously Evan Williams, a hard-hitting safety. It's going to be a lot of fun. Respect Oranges in the chat said, I hope Jaire can give Kalen King the confidence he needs to get back to what he was. We all know Ja has confidence to spare. That's a great point. You've kind of seen it with Carrington Valentine last year. I'm a Kentucky fan, guys. I'm sipping iced coffee out of a Kentucky Wildcats cup right now. All right, that makes me a super fan. I'm just joking. But I want Carrington Valentine to play out of his mind because he's a Green Bay Packer first and foremost, but he's a University of Kentucky Wildcat, And anytime someone like that rises to greater stardom at the next level, just getting drafted, let alone rising to stardom, it's going to help the university. It's going to help their recruiting cause, right? All that ties in together in how they perform at the NFL level. But I'm not going to BS you guys just because I'm a Kentucky fan. I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I get frustrated when people do that. They get their favorite colleges, and it's like, we need this guy because he played for this university. No, we need the best guys to be Green Bay Packers, right? To me, Carrington Valentine didn't play that well last year. He played, he started, and for a 7th-round pick, I mean, what else could you ask for the guy, right? He held his own given where he was drafted in the position he was thrust into with the trade of Rasul Douglas, right? But I feel like Jaire kind of did pass some of that confidence on to Carrington. One thing you can say about Carrington Valentine, that dude did not play scared last year. He may have made mistakes, and he may not have graded out well according to PFF and all that stuff. And I know the passer rating when targeted wasn't great. We looked that up. Wasn't absolutely horrible, but it definitely wasn't good. I feel like that Jaire probably passed a little bit of that confidence on to him. What Respect Orange is saying here with Kalen King, man, that would be absolutely huge. So what you've got now in the cornerback room, you got Jaire Alexander, who's an absolute surefire lock, right? So the opposite outside corner is either going to be Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine, Corey Ballantyne, which in my opinion, Corey Ballantyne is the best of those three I've mentioned so far. You've got Kalen King stepping in now, potentially to battle for that spot as well. you're creating a really good sense of competition there on the outside corner position opposite Jaire Alexander. Now in the slot, the closer we're getting to camp, I'm starting to lean toward, are they going to try Javon Bullard in the slot? Because Goody kind of specifically mentioned that. And listen, camp could change all that, right? They could come out and one of them fall flat on their face and make the decision for them. But let's say that Oladapo and or Evan Williams and Javon Bullard all come into camp, and they just look like they're legit, right? Let's say that Oladapo, which Brian Gutekunst mentioned, he is more of a traditional safety. He can play some deep. He plays in the box. He can also play what we called Sam. You notice he mentioned that, right? What he's referring to as Sam is in your nickel defense, right? Your nickel 4-2-5, having Quay Walker and let's say it's Edgerrin Cooper as your two linebackers, and walking Oladapo down into the box. And he's technically a box safety, what at the college level we refer to as the spur safety. That's called the spur position, okay? So he rotates down into the box pre-snap, and it kind of forms three linebackers. The problem is Oladapo's a safety. That's what he meant by him playing Sam, him playing over the tight end where he can cover the tight end but also help in the run fit and be aggressive. The fact that he mentioned that, and while simultaneously mentioning Javon Bullard can play in the slot, that kind of got me thinking like they might give Javon Bullard a legit shot to play the slot position, And if Oladapo, let's say Oladapo and Javon Bullard come out and they play lights out, and Javon Bullard takes that slot job from Keyshawn Nixon, that's a good spot to be in. But I think it's two things have to happen. That's why it's a long shot in my opinion. Javon Bullard has to prove he can play equally as good or better than Keyshawn Nixon in the slot. And Ketan Oladapo has got to prove that he can play equally or better to Anthony Johnson Jr. or Javon Bullard even at the safety spot. What it's going to come down to is you're looking for a max net gain of Keyshawn Nixon and Javon Bullard versus Javon Bullard in the slot and Oladapo at safety, if that makes sense. So camp battles are going to be phenomenal, man, on the offensive line as well. But, yeah, I agree with you, Respect Oranges. I hope Jaire can give some of that confidence to Kalen King, no doubt. 2-0 for this in the chat. Says, Jai's back. Huh?
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Prince in the chat says, look at me. I am the captain now. Look at me. Look at me. I am the captain now, Jaire Alexander. So it is kind of funny to look back on, like, what in the world, man? At the time, I know it upset a lot of us, like, what are you doing, bub? Can we just all play together here and try to figure this season out? It's youngest team, one of the youngest teams in the league. He walks out there and nominates himself as captain. It's hilarious. I'm glad we can laugh about it now because it aggravated a lot of us last year. Doug Pointer in the chat says, so cool the Pack saw what they wanted in free agency and let nothing deter them. And that's a big misconception of Brian Gutekunst. On this show here, on this pod, I'm going to criticize Goody when he needs to be criticized, right? Not when he needs to be criticized. That sounds very, very condescending, very egotistical, I should say. I'm going to criticize Goody if I disagree with something. Now, I'm always going to end it with, he's a professional football general manager, and I'm a dumb redneck from Tennessee, right? But everyone has a right to their opinion, and I'm going to voice that if I disagree with him. There's some people that...
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
They get mad if anyone says anything bad about Brian Gutekunst, and I'm totally against that. I'm going to push back on that. You can tell when someone's biased. Like, you can go to their Twitter account, click on their profile, hit the search bar. It'll search through all their tweets and just type in Brian Gutekunst. And some people, you will not find one single negative comment about Brian Gutekunst. To me, that's biased, right? And it's not that you would go on there to bash them or you would bash them in the comments here, pretend like we know more than them. But when people, the same people that get mad when someone just disagrees with a move that Goody makes, never have criticized them in their whole adult life, I just kind of throw their opinion out the window, man. That's what I think people mean by goot licker, is like the dude does nothing wrong is what you're saying, right? That kind of, anyway, I think Gutekunst is a top 5 GM. I believe him being number 4 on that list, I think he's deserving of that. I think he's done a heck of a job, and I think he's going to continue to do a heck of a job. I'm just saying there's some people you're not allowed to say one single thing wrong. But the big misconception is he doesn't do anything in free agency. He doesn't do anything in free agency. There's some people I remember hearing on podcasts, notable podcasters like, man, Brian Gutekunst came out and surprised us all and signed, exactly what Doug Pointer's saying. So cool the Pack saw what they wanted in free agency and let nothing deter them. Man, that's not like Goody. What are you talking about? When he first got the job, he signed the 2 most expensive pass rushers in free agency and a safety in Adrian Amos. Like, he's proven he will overpay for great. And he knocked it out of the park with the 2 edge rushers. Obviously, Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith completely revamped that defense. Adrian Amos was great for a couple years. Obviously fell off on the backside. But, yeah, I'm with you, Doug Pointer. He's seen 2 great players and said, let's go ahead and fill those voids right now, especially when the contract talks kind of broke down with Aaron Jones. 2-0 for this in the chat said, it's cool that for McKinney and Jacobs, we were their first choice in free agency. Yeah, didn't even get a chance to shop around, right? Didn't even get a chance to look anywhere else. It really says a lot about what they've seen in this team. And you heard them both say, and we played it right here, Jordan Love was one of the big reasons why they came to Green Bay. And there's a notable podcaster. I'll keep his name out of my mouth because I'm not that guy. I don't try to, I don't want to bash people and try to, disrespect them or embarrass them or prove them wrong. But, they kind of scoffed at that right out of the gate. And for me, it's like they were basically essentially what they said was, well, the Packers gave them more money than anyone else did, right? And it's like, hold up a second. So the fact that they gave them more money than anyone else, it means they're lying that they said they wanted to come play with Jordan Love? Like, what are we even talking about here? So that kind of rubs me the wrong way. But Jordan Love, I believe with everything in me, played a big role in Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney wanting to come to Green Bay. They both said it. I like to take people for their word. I don't like to try to go, no, I don't, I think they're saying that, but that's not what they really mean. What are you, a mind reader? What are you, Nostradamus over here? Like, that always blows me away that people, when people would do a podcast or put together a video on YouTube, a reaction video to what someone said, and they go, I think what they're saying here. No, they said what they said. Stop pretending like you understand what they mean more than they do. That stuff drives me bonkers, man. Jake, let's see, Jay Cole in the chat said, yeah, I remember hearing that. Same, man. Same. All right, let's see here. What else we got? There was another screen grab, I believe, I wanted to share with you guys and gals this evening before we get out of here. Oh, let's do this real quick. This was cool. Over in our Patreon group, AZ Marky Mark actually posted this picture in our Patreon group. The Patreon community is growing every day. It's a really, really cool setup, man. I'm glad we did that and went that route. It's just a way for us to communicate a little easier over there. People can direct message me on there. And it's a great tool for listeners to be able to contribute to the show. Like, hey, we should hit on this topic. It doesn't mean we're always going to hit on the topic that's suggested, but it's a great way to get that in front of us in after hours. And we can go, yeah, let's hit on that tomorrow. Let's put that together. But AZ Marky Mark posted this picture and said, here's a pic of the man, Larry, the pinky finger, doing what he did best for the G, digging hard in the mud of Lambeau for those extra yards. This is real football, 1977. And if you click on the image, look at big Larry McCarron, absolutely dominating a Detroit Lions defensive lineman. Look at the poor bastard on the bottom of the pile. God love him. He's like, oh, Lord, I got about 600 pounds about to land right on my chest. But Larry McCarron, man, we see him as the older gentleman with the busted up hands from playing football all those years. We don't see him as this guy. And it's we got to check ourselves. Larry McCarron, man, that dude, and he played in Green Bay in a time when there was not much to root for. He was one of the bright spots on that team, him and Lynn Dickey, and for a short time, James Lofton. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm what am I trying to say here? An expert on the 70s and 80s of the Green Bay Packers. I'm the farthest thing from it. You get into Curly Lambeau's time, I could tell you a lot of stories. Leading up through Vince Lombardi's time, absolutely. Anything after 2003, I've been pretty much a fan and got to experience. But those guys that just kept football going in Green Bay and just busted their ass the entire time and did things like this that you're seeing in this picture with Larry McCarron, you got to tip your cap to them and just be thankful. And thankful to the fans. And I've said this multiple times, and I'm going to continue to say it on this podcast. If you're hearing my voice and you've been a Packer fan since the 70s, thank you for holding up that flag. Thank you for still sitting and filling in that stand, filling in those stands and filling in the seats at Lambeau Field, those bleachers, and supporting the team. Because if you had packed it in when the team absolutely stunk and say, they're just not much to root for, maybe next year, maybe next year, maybe next year, Green Bay, the Packers may not even be in Green Bay right now, right? All that, they're just thin threads that the Packers were able to stay a publicly owned team and stay in the one of what I think is one of the greatest cities in the entire United States, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, is because fans like you were willing to go out and sit in the cold when the snow was flying and the sleet and the rain and all that when the Packers absolutely stunk. And it needs to be said that people like Larry McCarron, they were out there absolutely playing lights out and dominating and being a team captain, all those things. It's important, man. It's just so, so important. We got a special guest here. This guy right here is about to get fired, I believe. What are you doing?
I'm at work on break. Just got a couple minutes. I figured since you're solo, I'd call in.
Cool, man. Yeah, we're at the 48-minute mark. We'll be wrapping up here shortly, I would imagine. Look at this picture of Larry McCarron. Can you see that?
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I seen it. It was AZ Marky Mark sent it over to me in the Patreon group. I think I'm gonna have that framed and put it in here, man. I got nothing but black and white photos in the studio. That would be a really, really cool one to have right there, man. But I don't know. Have you been listening to the show the entire time or no?
Yeah, there's a little gap. I had to pause it here and there, so I'm probably delayed 7 minutes or so.
Gotcha. Well, before I let you go, man, what's on your mind tonight? Did you get maybe something you caught already or anything you want to talk about?
Just one, it's nice to see the Vikings throwing balls into the ground already so soon. That's great. Especially while I'm in Minnesota right now. Screw you, Vikings. I hate this place. Other than that, just it's nice to see how Jaire's responded to the criticism, like you said. So the fact that he's taking it real serious, I think if anything, it made him step his game up when they signed somebody like Xavier, because I think it's been a while since we had a true leader, like a Clay Matthews or a Charles Woodson type, AJ Hawk type. I really want it to be, Gary seems like he's not quite the leader that I shouldn't say that, but he's not like the vocal leader that I really want him to be as much, and doesn't have that.
He's a beast, right? He's a monster, but I know what you mean. He's not. He doesn't feel like he's the vocal leader of the group. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, man. Other than that, it's just good to see the guys gelling. You touched on the two wide receivers. Was it Wicks and Reed that are bunking up together? That's awesome. I think they're going to bond like crazy. I think the wide receiver group is already tight knit, and this year it sounds like they're going to be even more so. So yeah, I'm excited.
Man. Check this out right here, man. Since you're on here, let's go ahead and hit it. I know I'm really, really excited about this. Green Bay Packers tweeted this out, said, be a part of Green Bay history with the ceremonial NFL draft handoff from Detroit to Green Bay on Tuesday, May 14th. Members of the public, that's coming right up here next week, right? Members of the public are welcome to attend the unveiling of the 2025 NFL draft, NFL countdown clock in Lambeau Field atrium. Green Bay area kids are also invited to bike to the clocks. They're going to unveil a huge countdown clock to the NFL draft in 2025. Jacob, man, I'm so excited, dude. We got the house. We got the B&B already set up right there in Green Bay. We're just a short distance from Lambeau. I know I'm going to be up there. You're going to be up there. We're going to have Emilio in the house. We're going to have Tim there. The ladies are going to be there. They're going to be able to probably spend, Mandy's going to make me go broke up there spending money. I guarantee it. She gets with the ladies. They'll go ham up there. I guarantee you that. But, man, I'm really, really excited about hanging out with y'all for the 2025 NFL Draft. Bro, it's going to be here in a blink, man. How you feel about it?
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's real. I always forget that we already booked the house and everything. We just got to, get used to being in the same room together. That'll be kind of weird doing the show that way and having microphones. And I don't know how we're going to do it. Are we still planning on doing like one shot, or if we're going to all have our own little square? I don't know. It'll be fun. Either way.
A cool setup, man. We were going to get a house in Door County, but we decided to stay in town so we can be closer to the stadium. But the house we got, there's like a kitchen area and a living room area that's all open up. So what we'll probably do is set up 2 spots, have a couple guys in one spot, a couple guys in the other. That way we're not too cramped up. That way we can throw the football, the old pigskin across the room to each other too. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a blast. So, man, you're going to have a cannoli. I'm going to challenge you to not have a cannoli until the draft. All right.
Easy. I didn't even know what they were until recently. So.
Yeah, we're going to have a kitchen full of cannolis, man. We're going to be slamming cheese curds and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be absolutely awesome, man. So,
yeah,
really excited about that. And it's awesome that the Packers decided to do this and make like a little ceremony too, man. And, Mandy and I, we were real close to going, you know what, we're not going to make it for the draft. And I looked at her and I said, she said, do you want to? I went, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, Jacob.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen for at least 32 more years, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't see any scenario where they'll come back to Lambeau before they go every other city. So, let's get it in, man. Let's do it.
We've been talking, I was talking about how he's in the next 10, 15 years, he sees us playing like 8 weeks overseas and stuff like that and have an extended season and all this. So, yeah, I mean, the NFL as it is now, you're only going to have one chance to see it because it seems like it's changing rapidly. So,
yeah. Eric Sutherland getting all morbid, and he said, "Yep, I'll be dead before another draft in Green Bay." Hey, it sounds morbid. I said the same thing to Mandy. I was like, "Hey, let's see here. 30 years from now, I'm going to be 71. I'm probably going to be too old and decrepit unless you're going to wheel me up there." You know what I mean?
We should try to challenge as many of our listeners and viewers to go meet us there, or at least just go there to experience it, because then we can all kind of share. Even if we don't get to hang out that much, it can all, know that we were all there together kind of thing. That'd be cool.
I agree, man. I think it would be cool to, if at a bare bones minimum, because it's going to be hard to get reservations and stuff, obviously, but maybe we could do that, like a handful of listeners that we know are going to be there at a certain time. Maybe we can go break bread together and have a good time. But at a bare bones minimum, we should meet up at a lot somewhere and crack open one Daddy soda or a Coca-Cola, whatever you drink, and just one big toast to the draft up there as Packernet members and obviously PTA and everything. I think would be absolutely awesome, man. So
that'd be really cool. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. Look at AFAM in here, Jacob. AFAM says AFAM doesn't want to steal everyone's wife/girlfriends, etc. But that mustache, man, you got to watch that guy, dude. You got to watch him. So
yeah, that mustache is lethal. Yeah.
That mustache that'll steal your girlfriend. It'll also prevent him from being allowed around a school within 100 feet. That's what that mustache does. So it's the way that works. All right, we're gonna wrap this thing up, man. You got anything else, Jacob? You gonna be on here as we wrap up, or you can just hop off? Either way, man.
No, I'm gonna pop off. I'll be on in the morning. I gotta work tomorrow night, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the morning show.
Yeah, tomorrow morning we'll do Evan Williams. Chalk Talk. It's gonna be a lot of fun, man. It was a fun one to draw up, so it's gonna be really, really cool. So we'll see you in the morning, bub.
All right, see you later, guys. Go Pack.
All right, that was Jacob the Beard. Again, AZ Marky Mark, just a quick shout out. Thank you so much for taking the time to send that picture, man. And again, if you guys are interested in joining the Patreon group, there's a link in the video description here that'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. All right. And anyone who's a member and signed up for one of the 3 tiers that we have in there, you're going to be entered into future contests to win prizes, things like that, just a way that we can give back to our listeners and those who are supporting us. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway this coming, I think it's Wednesday is what they're saying, is when the schedule release is going to happen. We're going to be giving away a football that's autographed by the great Paul Hornung. And what we're going to do is take everyone who's a Patreon member in there and put their name on a wheel and spin it. So if you haven't entered that, if you haven't become a Patreon member yet, and you want to get yourself into that drawing, make sure that you're a member like I said before the schedule release, I believe it's Wednesday. So if everyone who's in by Tuesday, we will put you on the wheel. But the goal is going to be Wednesday night is to do kind of like we did with the draft, just a live schedule release party, essentially. And we may go a little long, but we're just going to kind of take a first glance at the schedule. And it's a little celebration to kind of officially kick off the new football year, in my opinion. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, again, that is patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. AZ Marky Mark, thank you so much for sending that picture, buddy. It's really cool. So, with that being said, we're going to get out of here. Again, tomorrow morning, we're going to do Evan Williams Chalk Talk. And then tomorrow night, we'll dive into some more stuff. I've got a couple things that we didn't get to that are in my show notes that we'll hit on tomorrow night. So, really appreciate everybody in the chat hanging out with me tonight. And, again, the guys some people were going, where are the guys at? Man, I can't believe that they're on here as much as they are, to be honest with you. When I launched this channel and I launched the show, I thought I was doing it by myself. And along the way, man, just really met a whole lot of cool people. Everybody that's on the show were listeners. And just getting to know them, it's been really, really awesome. And just appreciate the time that they do spend on the show. So, again, I'm just forever grateful that they're on here as much. If they never show up on the show again, I don't know why they wasted their time hanging out with me as long as they have, but it's been an absolute blast. It's really cool that we've got the group that we've kind of formed up. So, again, everybody in the chat, thank you all so much for hanging out with us, man. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. We will see you in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau, 8 Central, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you get up, get you a cup of diesel, get some coffee in you, and we'll get on here and break down some Evan Williams Chalk Talk. So everyone have a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there on this Saturday night. And let's go out and be the change that we want to see in the world. Go, Pack, go.
The power sweep actually is the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Come to tackle. Take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.